Hey everyone, Fuzz here, and today we're going to do a little pedalboard experiment thing. So something you read a lot about on the internet, you hear a lot about, is having buffers before a fuzz. And a lot of people say it will make your fuzz sound thin and metallic and lacking bass and all that sort of stuff. And I'm always a little bit skeptical about stuff like that, but until you try it, you won't know it. So in the pedal setup I usually have, I have the fuzzes behind the buffer, so I figured, well, I can quite easily change that and see what happens. And you are here to experience that with me. Now, my philosophy here is always, if you can't clearly hear it, it's not an issue, which is true for, I guess, 90% of amateur music makers anyways. If you're like a super professional studio, or you need to add a lot of gain to stuff, you can definitely run into issues here, but my perspective is more of a home studio, casual amateur player, maybe a live performer, to see how this holds up. The Future Me here. So to quickly interject, I will not be testing this with a amp or any high gain stuff or load boxes or stuff like that, because that's simply not something I have access to. So for this testing we will be using DI exclusively. I know a lot of people think it's very important to have like big amps and stuff for a good fuzz distortion sound. I don't have access to that. Probably some other people won't as well, so I won't be testing that, just so you know before you watch the rest of the video and comment this, okay? So let's carry on. So the setup that we have going on here is a little bit crazy, so bear with me. We are going to use a single fuzz, that's this one. It's a Carcosa. And this Carcosa is currently through the patchulator, which is a passive element, so there's no buffering going on there, connected to a looper pedal, which is down here. This makes it a little bit more consistent to try things. And the looper, so the patch run is, it goes from the looper into the polytune. Now the polytune has a buffer and a unbuffered, a true bypass mode, so that makes it pretty easy to A/B. It runs into the patchulator, into the Carcosa, it goes back from the Carcosa, and it goes blue cable straight into the interface. So there's nothing on the way back, no buffers, no anything. And the signal going in right now is from the patch board, the guitar going straight into the looper. So we're playing through the looper into the Carcosa and back, with the polytune in there as a buffer option. So I want to test this, then I want to take out the looper entirely, see if that makes any difference, and this way we should have as little signal changes as possible. And that should give us a fairly reliable yet unscientific result, hopefully. So anyways, let me throw you on the little stand here. It's a little of a weird wide shot, but that's just to make sure you can see everything, that I'm not messing with anything to change the results. For bass duty, we have the always lovely ESP F105. It's an active bass. And it's a 5-string, so it should give us plenty flow, tuned in something like F sharp, I believe. So the first thing I want to do is I actually don't want to use the bass. I just want to run a loop, which I recorded previously on my 4-string bass. So let's run the loop and let's see what happens. Right, that's our loop, and this was with the buffer on. Now for consistency's sake, there are 2 dip switches here. I will turn them at the same time. So when I put them down, the always on tuner will also turn off. That's also a nice check. And now if we play it back, we are true bypass. can't exactly say there's a big difference, if there's any difference at all, just listening through headphones. So not super convinced about this yet, but there's still a ways to go. Also, there's a noticeable beep every so often from something interfering with something. Very sorry about that. I have no idea what it is, and it will go away any second now, because it's usually like 1 or 2 seconds there it goes. Okay, cool. So that was the looper. So let's go with the 5-string now. Let's hear what we can do. Not really any noticeable difference, I would say, in that as well. So that's interesting. That still leaves a couple of potential conclusions. So let's just, for the sake of it, take the looper out of the equation. Let's just put the guitar straight into the looper. Interesting poppy noises. Oh, that's because I connected it the wrong way around. I am so sorry, pedal. There we go. Alright, that's still working. So now we have guitar going straight into the poly, going into the carcosa. So if we turn it off. still honestly not that much of a difference, I feel. But we can actually put a scope to that and see if we can measure any differences. But I kind of doubt it. So it's not really as big a difference as I had thought, so let's just crank the So what is kind of interesting is very different noise pattern in buffered mode versus unbuffered mode. So that's buffered, that's unbuffered, and that's buffered. So there's something going on there. And that's the weird audio interface noise thingy. So that was a few volume swells with the buffer on and off. I will label them in post. And that's a few different volumes playing into the Fuzz buffered and unbuffered. So what would be my conclusion? To be honest, there was a very different noise profile when switching from buffer on to buffer off, so that's interesting. But for the actual quality of the Fuzz sound, I wouldn't say it's really a night and day difference. Like if I was to put this in a mix, I don't think I could hear the difference, honestly. And even if I could probably make up for it with either some EQ or just adjusting the fuzz settings a bit to get the right sound buffered. So for this kind of thing, I don't think it matters that much. Now, I have seen some people who say it has a lot to do with the playing dynamics and the volume going into the fuzz, and it will be more sensitive when playing dynamically into the fuzz when you're playing unbuffered. Let's just say if that's a thing you do a lot, you probably want to redo this test for yourself and see how much it matters to you. I don't feel like it's that big a difference that I would say you definitely need to have your fuzzes before your buffered pedals, because it's also really a chore once you start to make a more complex pedalboard to get every fuzz in front of a buffered pedal, because most pedals are buffered pedals really. Or a lot, unless you go very boutique, in which case they're not, but a lot of modern pedals are buffer pedals, so it will severely limit your ability to build a board. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. If you want to see me try something else with this sort of setup, if you think my testing here was flawed, and if so, what should I do different in a new test? Would love to hear your opinions. So that's it for today. I hope you have a great day, and see ya.